from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Ooh, welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We are the embattled broadcast from behind enemy lines in the great state of New York. We are the ones that explore the past to remain in the present to dictate the terms of our future. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is bright behind these new lights that we've gotten here in the studio. Hopefully you can see me a little bit better. Things are a little bit more crisper, a little clearer. But some of the funding that we've received over the last few days has helped us get some new equipment, which means that we are slowly and progressively getting more stuff together so we can advance this incredible community and really make things boast in a great way, right? So these lights are brand new. They are a little bright. So if I seem a little bright tonight, we're going to adjust it as it goes. This is a trial run of how these lights work. There are two of them now instead of just one. And my God, they are so bright. I can barely see the screen here. But listen, everything happens for a reason. We're here tonight to explore the cycles of karma. How's everybody doing? I see Nancy's here, Nicole, Jason, Stephanie, Rockers is here. Oh man, we've got Andromeda, we've got Ainsmoth. Everybody is here tonight. Please, please, please do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, when the stream is finished, please leave a comment below after the stream. It does an amazing amount to help with the algorithmic bugs and to keep us, moving forward and really bringing in more and more people into this amazing community. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the karma, but also how karma is associated with the Akashic record. We did the Akashic record, and there was a method to my madness when I did that one first. So we're going to take two aspects, which is the karmatic flow of things, the way of cycles of karma, and we're going to integrate it into how the Akashic record helps us alleviate some of these karmatic debts that we received from other lifetimes, from this lifetime, from all over the place. So with all this stuff going on, we're going to teach you how to break these cycles. Now, one of the things that we're going to be talking about too is when we start to do these Akashic readings, and I'm going to get to everybody little by little. I see Discogs here. September 26th is here, or Sept 26th. Sorry, I call you September 26th. My bad. But we're also going to be talking about the illusion that is lines here too, or Lynn. Sorry, I'm reading. It's very hard to see the screen at this moment in time, but like I said, we're working all the stuff out here. So what we're seeing is that these specific karmic debts, they hinder us in our waking reality, right? But our reality is somewhat of an illusion too, and together they create this simulational synopsis that essentially keeps us trapped from that higher evolutionary state of consciousness. And we're here to break apart all of that, all of the illusion, all of the things that we see all over the place. We have a slideshow tonight. It's only 10 slides. We're going to do a little bit of reading. One of the things I've done is I've gone into some of the books that I've been reading so heavily to get this information. And we're going to break down specific areas of these books because it's important. It's all connected, right? Everything is connected together. So tonight we're going to start with the cycles of karma and what karma means, how karma works. A lot of people believe it's a cause and effect, and it is, but it may not be to this actual lifetime. There is an incarnation cycle that resides behind all of this. And what that does is you could be trying to pay off a debt from a previous life. So how do we figure that out? We have to look into the Akashic record to essentially figure out where we need to heal those traumatic areas later on, right? So we're going to explain it a lot more in detail. Also, this week, we're going to be having Paul Wallace come by. We're also going to see Aggie Nost coming by very, very soon in the next week or so. It's going to be absolutely great. We've got a couple of guests lined up, which is going to be a lot of fun. We are right towards the end of our 2 weeks of going live just about every night as much as we could. We're going to try and maintain this pace and keep it going because I think it's really done a lot to help the channel again and kind of bring us back to the prominence we once had in reaching everybody. So again, please like, share, subscribe. Also leave that comment, and if you're feeling inclined to, use a super chat to applaud us for the work that we do here, all of those proceeds go back into this broadcast, just like we're seeing right now with the clearer picture. So it's a little bit easier to see me, which I'm not too happy about, but hopefully you are, right? It's not about me. It's about the information. It really is. So, without further ado, let's get into what we do here, and that is the slideshow, right? We're going to get into a lot of information tonight. So, and if you've noticed, a lot of the live chat numbers have been a little bit lower too. And I think that there is a consistent plan with not allowing this information to be spread out into the public. This is all on purpose. We talked about this with progressive occultism the other night, and how they're sort of taking specific points of society and throwing them into the toilet and not letting people digest this information. So this is also one of those places, right? Sugar Bee, good to see you. Good to see you, Sugar Bee. The karmatic cycles that have to do with the akashic record and incarnation are one of the places that they don't want you looking. Now, a lot of this comes from Eastern philosophy, but what we're looking at is something that is brought up in almost every 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 Judeo-Christian and Eastern culture. There is this system of reap what you sow, right? Whether it be in this life or another. And this reap what you sow is sort of the mainstay of what these specific types of philosophies or ideologies all point towards. Do unto others as you would want done to yourself. There's so many ways that I can say the same thing over and over and over and over. But what does that mean, right? What does that mean? When we start to master the Akashic record and this karmic system, we take mastery of the lower levels of vibrational frequency. When we've mastered those lower level vibrational frequencies, we ascend to higher consciousness. That's why we're doing a lot of intense work that is in the upper echelon of frequency, but we're also going to work on the lower echelons as well. Because understanding that when we master that stuff, it makes us transcend into the next cycle, right? Into the next elevated frequency, whether it's third dimensional, two dimensional, into the fourth and fifth, where we want to reside all the time, where we lose this duality, this good and evil, and we just see everything for what it is. It's an inherent look into society, and when we look into the society, we'll see the hidden things, right? We'll see the veils lift. There will be no more veils that are creating these illusions. So this is why we dive into this information, right? That was just kind of a little bit of an opening salvo, but let's get into this a little bit, right? So, what is the true meaning of karma, right? So, karma, and this is basically the definition as of Hinduism, identifies karma as the relationship between a person's mental or physical action and the consequence that follows that action. It also signifies the consequences of all the actions of a person in their current and previous lives and the chain of cause and effect in morality. So there are three different types of karma. Now, the three different types of karma are the parayada, well, I can't say it right, right? But we know what it is. The sanchita and the kriyamana, or the agami, right? So the prior dubba karma is experienced through the present body and is only part of the sanchita karma, which is the sum of one's past karmas, whereas agama, right, is the result of your current decisions and actions. So this is just sort of breaking down what the karma is, or how the definitions, really. We're trying to look at true definitions of karma, right? So when we're looking at this, samadhi, I believe that the samadhi is also the same as agama, right? Or agami, from what I was understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. But there's a lot of myth that goes around karma. We're going to talk about these very quickly because these are the pitfalls of the illusion of reality, right? So let's talk about those. And you notice the picture is the weighted scale, where it's the Lieber scale, as some of us call it, where they weigh your sins and forgiveness, right? So we see this as a prominent uh, esoteric symbol across all cultures, every one of them. That's why I kind of put it there to kind of give us a little bit of a leadway. So even though karma is intrinsically woven into everybody's existence, shaping our lives and directing our evolution, it remains largely misunderstood. Only by raising our karma consciousness can we hope to improve our lives and create a more compassionate and loving environment around us. So, here are some myths about karma. Myth number one: karma is vengeful as a universal law designed to maintain harmony and balance through divine justice among parts of a greater whole called God. Karma is anything but vengeful. It's instructive, not vindictive. It strives to purify, not punish. It aspires to remedy the unloving vices that afflict human behavior, causing separation, so we can learn to coexist more lovingly, right? Number two, karma is destiny. Karma is not a predetermined blueprint of life. It's an always changing set of influences that determines what is required to refine and balance the afflictions of our soul and help us overcome ignorance and darkness. Good karma earned in past lives brings us many easy opportunities to evolve and grow. Similarly, a conscious willingness to remedy the poor karma of our past can alter the uninspiring default destiny we are born with. Through the scrupulous use of discrimination, one pointed focus, and strong will, we can burn karma's rope and upgrade our density, right? Or end our destiny, all in the same all in the same moment, right? So, myth number three: if I do good karma, right, I will be born to luxury. Divine laws are not driven by human needs and desires, they are designed to uphold truth and purity. Souls choose experiences to learn the unlearned lessons, develop fortitude, and cultivate empathy and compassion. Although good karma earns us some creature comforts, these are usually aligned to the soul's purpose and syllabus. If a soul deserving of kingly comforts chooses to develop spiritually in that essence, it may prefer being born as the son of a temple high priest rather than a king, because it may have more opportunities to serve people, learn wisdom teachings, and engage in spiritual practices. And yet, it won't need to worry about food or shelter, right? So we're seeing a pattern emerge when it comes to karma. Karma is not man made. That's not what it is. But it was a good try, but it's not man made at all. It's the upper density that is controlling this karmic cycles, right? We're going to get into it, and you're going to see that that's absolutely false. So myth number four: hardships or suffering means we have bad karma. Many old souls choose difficult lives so that they can help others grow. By doing this, they build their good karma balance instead of expending it. When a soul agrees to live in a wheelchair, let's say, or a ridden life, or incarnates as an autistic person, it helps its earth parents and caregivers to develop patience, tolerance, generosity, empathy, and love. The suffering of such people may appear to be the consequences of bad karma, but it's more likely that these are karma rich good souls, because it takes immense courage for a soul to choose such a hard life. So we see that there are some idiosyncrasies that people associate with specific things in life, when this is all about changing the outlook on how we see things, right? When we talk about some of these things, people say, "Why me?" Right? That's a term we always hear. Why me? Why am I so, destined to be in this gutter of a life right now? And it's not true. It's essentially perspective. You're looking at it from something of a negative lens, right? When really, if we look at some of the positive lens around it, there is a lot of strength in there, right? So it really has a lot to do with what we understand. And the past lives that we have essentially create these karmic cycles. Now, Once we break of those cycles, right, we can essentially choose to reincarnate again and get back into the swing of experiencing the physical reality, which is most of the reason why most of us come here to learn those lessons. But we don't have to be intrinsically in debt or a part of the karmatic cycles anymore, which is how we truly get ourselves, you know, to essentially uh, be a part of this greater collective. So there's people, Lynn is saying that I do not believe that karma has anything to do with reincarnation. We do not have to come back to pay debts. We come back because we choose to. Maybe it, in that same realization, right? What if we choose to come back to either live through those specific things to reap what we sowed in the sense of having a great life before this in our incarnation cycle? So we're coming back to understand that now we're benefiting a little bit from the karmatic flow of things, right? We're on the upswing as opposed to the downswing. Maybe the past life was really hard, right? And now we're coming through to sort of have the universe take care of us for a moment. And that's kind of like a give and take, an ebbs and a flow. But I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that that could be a different way of looking at it, right? So let's keep going. And hopefully by the end of this, we'll understand the karmatic cycle a little bit more. So the other myths here. Myth number we did myth number 4, myth number 5. Karma cannot be dissipated. Those who gain a deep understanding of how life works recognize the karmatic imprints can be counterbalanced by conscious forces of equal measure. They realize that the effect of bad karma can be restrained by curbing negative thoughts, letting go of the lower tendencies arising above attractions and repulsions, and learning to give and forgive. By controlling vices and cultivating insight, acceptance, and forbearance, and willful surrender, one can reduce the impact of unkind past. Karma is a wise teacher, and if the student learns his lessons spontaneously, karma willingly reduces the hardship designed to teach them, right? So, another myth that we have is these gurus will redeem our bad karma. A guru removes our darkness, right? Or our karmas. It karma teaches us the lessons through cause and effect, not through gurus, right? So that's myth number 6 to go through this pretty quickly so we can get to the information at hand. But sometimes people say karma no longer applies, right? Many internet theories abound claiming that karma no longer applies in the fifth dimensional consciousness that humanity is presently moving into. This is a misconception, right? Karma is a universal law of the earth plane. The only possibility for the redundancy may be in a future time when everyone has learned to love themselves selflessly. That remains a distant dream with the greed and the power that's driven by the world. So a century ago, the learned theists, Annie Besant, said the only way to be free is to study karma and apply our knowledge to the guidance of our lives. This is true even today, right? So as we keep going, we can basically see that karma kind of has its own cycle here. And when we get into the Akashic record side of things, you're going to understand how easy it is to, you know, rectify these past. No, I don't even want to say transgressions because the karma is not always bad, right? It could be good karma. And again, we're reaping the benefits of a past life, or we're reaping the benefits in this life of a selfless nature that we've had previous to this. And I, a lot of this comes to the again, the ebbs and flows of the universal laws. The universal laws talk about this. And this is something that we apply to ourselves being a part of the spiritual community. We try and maintain ourselves within the universal law or the common laws that we know to be good practice of people who are more selfless and give more to others than to be selfish, right? So now we're going to talk about the cycles of karma. Now, this says the vicious cycle of karma, but it's not always a vicious cycle, right? And the reincarnation cycle is essentially a part of the karmic cycle. we know that our soul chooses to come back, like we were talking about before. Now, there's specific reasons that we come back for, whether it's a mission, whether it's essentially, something that has to be done, or we're here to fight against a specific darkness, and we are the counterbalance to that darkness. The karmic flow or karmic cycle is taken into account. This is how we end up learning the things that we need to learn each and every time we're here on this physical plane. And a lot of the times when we're in the afterlife or wherever we are, a part of the universe, in heaven, whatever you believe, we tend to come back. Why do we want to come back and reside within the physical plane again? And if so, are there edicts that which dictate our time on this physical plane? This is part of going into the Akashic record and seeing what we've experienced in past lives and seeing the patterns that play out in the incarnation cycle as well as the karmic cycle. So let's get into it, right? So understanding the cycle or the wheel of karma is essential to the comprehension of our plane or our planes of existence, right? I see your choice to incarnate on the earth plane as a part of a desire to experience creation on a dense level. This experience helps you evolve your consciousness. Here, you can master and experience the duality of the physical and emotional mental planes of the body. I see human beings coming to this plane and similar taking on an adventurous trip like hiking into the Alps, as we would all like to, right? We all came here because we want to see and discover new things as well. So a lot of research has told me that as we move into this realm, we started to feel separate from divine love. And we became caught up in the illusion of the linear, dualistic energies of the lower planes, right? We spent lifetimes trapped in a linear experience, which makes you stuck within the cycle of karma on the earth plane. Since there's no time and space, this progression is all happening in an instant. So your infinite self is experiencing everything at once. Your purpose is to spiral your way upward towards your higher consciousness and disengage from the linear delusion as you transcend the illusion. I know it's kind of like a tongue twister a little bit, but this linear experience of the earth plane is an illusion. And if you buy into this illusion, as so many people do, you get duped into believing the illusion is real and you won't believe the miracles and the abilities to create your reality, that you have that power, right? You'll see the world as absolutes. Like they say in Star Wars, only Siths speak in absolutes, right? And they're self power hungry. That's what they are. Absolutes up and down, black and white, yes or no. This view of the world will result in making you feel unhappy because you'll feel separate and alone. There is no area of openness and possibility when we see the world as an absolute and dualistic. In reality, the world around you is made up of planes and dimensions that are constantly interacting with you. The interaction is happening mind, body, and spirit. And you're interacting and creating your reality through your thoughts and your emotions. So, really, what we're talking about is we're talking about this moment, right? Everything is once we're in the higher planes of existence, we're seeing everything in an instant, right? And when we see everything in an instant, linear time and space, it's not the same. It doesn't work that way. So to give into those illusions sometimes keep us from understanding our true nature in that sense, or the soul that is within this physical vessel, right? That's exactly what we're talking about. But we're actually saying the same thing, Lynn. W- Even though you're saying you're not believing in the karmic cycle. Thank you, Discog. We appreciate that. All of these proceeds go back into this broadcast and into making this the best possible broadcast we can make. But what we're saying is actually the same thing. The karmic cycle is the reincarnation cycle many times over, right? They're layered together. These cycles are interacting with each other. And we're both in agreement. We're just saying it in a different way, right? To understand that. Now, I get we could say reincarnation is different from karma. It is, but they play a point to each other. They're interwoven much more than we think. And that's the wild side of this, and looking into this and saying, hey, we're open to this possibility that that's the case. And when we transcend the karmic cycle, we can transcend the reincarnation cycle because it's all similar, right? And they're interwoven. So as we keep going, let's keep shifting here. So when you believe that linear time and space are real, and you get caught up in the illusion of your stories of sadness and pain, that means that your soul has not mastered that physical, emotional, or mental plane yet. And since you have not mastered those planes and the bodies, that means that you're caught in the cycle of karma. Once you evolve your consciousness through working in the akashic record, right? You'll begin to master the lower planes. Through this mastery, you'll begin to see your experience more in a multi-dimensional energy and less linear. People keep incarnating on Earth because they believe in the illusion and karma, and they get caught back up in the feelings and the stories from the Earth plane. And they keep bringing you back into each incarnation. More energy from your past experiences keeps happening, right? So in each lifetime, we all can move through the karmic patterns that we came here to transcend. But it seems so many of us keep recreating these patterns. So you can use the Akashic records to work through your old story and emotions that kept you stuck in believing in the illusion of this world. While working in the records, you have the opportunity to master the lower planes and the higher consciousness, right? So this is what we're talking about here. The most exciting part is that at this moment, there is a huge spiritual awakening because the energy is shifting to a higher frequency. We know that. The energy is hiding the ancient understanding of your life and your soul, and it's clearly possible for anything, right? Any information you need to help become more connected to your soul is at your fingertips. It's time for everybody to understand the connection between being human and being a human being and transcending that illusion so that we become more of who you truly are. Others have already created those very same miracles, right? So you know on some level that it's possible for everybody. When you start letting go of past karmas in the records, you will start creating miracles. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, hopefully it does. That's that's part of it. That's what the Akashic record. That perfect, perfect, perfect. This is exactly what we're talking about. This dubbing of the memories can be overcome through the Akashic records, right? That's why we went into it the last time we were here. And when we get a little bit further down, we're going to talk about the fact that we're divine. And that aspect is where the Akashic record plays into this, right? And it may not be so much of a memory wipe as it's you're setting up your own parameters of coming back and learning specific things without influence of those past lives. That's one way to, look at it as well. So just to, I thought that was perfect timing. Perfect timing. So let's get to the next slide here. So karma is a key element to evolving the soul, especially in such dense energy as Earth. Karma is the law of attraction, and your vibration is a reflection of your karma. You're connected with all people in your life because you are karmically entangled. You attract these people in your life to become completely aware and present with your karmic entanglements that you can also transcend as well. A significant aspect of healing karma is to open your actions and reactions to the events in your life. To experience deep healing, you will need to take personal responsibility for yourself. The spiritual master teaches, oh, it teaches us all of it. Always stress personal development to their students, these spiritual masters that we see. It's through personal development that we transcend our karma. So the best way to know if you're working on your karmas is if you're working on yourself. right? It's not about achieving perfection. It's about cultivating self realization, which means looking at yourself and your actions honestly and without judgment. We spend lifetimes working through the same karmic patterns because most people are not self aware. We're trying to be different now. This community is different. We decide on one area of our life that you want to start transforming, and then you go into the records and you do so. You get guidance within the records as well. And when you make major inner and external transformations, you know you're working on your karma at the same time. So when you begin to recognize the earth from the perspective of a higher consciousness, you will see through the illusions, which we're seeing dissolve in front of us right now, right? And your karma naturally starts transforming. You came to earth to transform and to master, which whatever it is that you think that you need to master, which accumulates in your physical, emotional, and mental. Personally, I have heard many spiritual people insist that there isn't any karma. They don't believe in God is handing out karma or punishments for misdoings. And I agree with that. Karma isn't about punishment. But if they're denying karma, you're missing an amazing opportunity to transform and transcend these karmic patterns. We need to believe, or we don't need to believe in karma for it to affect our life. It is part of our experience here. The law of karma is what attracted all things in your life, like your new job or your best friend, all of those things. I've also heard people say that they worry that karma will never end and that every second you're creating more karma. This fear holds you in the illusion that it is impossible to overcome this specific points in your past or your past karmas. That is the repetitive cycle that you get stuck in. And this is such an unfortunate belief, right? Karma isn't a tally sheet, it's an opportunity for growth and transformation. You can only hold onto karma if you hold on to the lower emotional and mental pain that karma has caused. Most karma comes in patterns. And once you realize we are all working on the same patterns, you no longer need the karma attached to those patterns. You can transcend all of it, right? This is also like when we're talking about doing shadow work for ourselves and going through some of the aspects of us that need to be changed for us to ascend to a higher consciousness. It's essentially the same thing. They're just using a different word, right? Karma can be seen a few different ways, and it's used differently when we talk about things. So when you give your power away to ideas like these, you're not taking responsibility for your actions and for who you are. You're not a victim of your karma. You have the ability and the tools through the akashic records to transmute any karma, past, present, and future. It's time for you to take back your karma from the karmic hamster wheel and transcend into the higher state of full potential. Once you transcend and master the physical, emotional, and mental planes and the energy bodies, you can also transcend your karma, which is what ascended masters have already done. So, the next, what we're going to talk about is transcending your karmic patterns, right? What's going on, common sense? And I love that statement. There is truth and love your enemies. There is truth in that. Absolutely. And Stone says, karma to me, once you become aware, you can change or do something about it. Repairing, letting go, and leaving attachments behind and feeling good about it. That's exactly what we're talking about here. It's just speaking about it from a Hinduistic sort of revelation. And the reason why we're doing it this way is to show that all peoples are one and the same. Oneness comes, which we're going to do a whole episode on. Oneness comes in many forms. And there's many aspects of oneness, even though we have all of these texts and ancient scriptures that speak in different tongues, they all say the same thing, right? And this is a life lesson that is passed down through oral tradition, through literary tradition, and through sacred text tradition, right? All of it, over and over and over. So The akashic records are a living energy that is in constant movement and transition, just like your energy field or aura, right? Your energy field is a reflection of your current state of mental, physical, and emotional health. Your aura's energy and colors are constantly moving. It dances and swirls around you the way a river rapid flows around rocks. The colors all intersect and move around you, and the way of a river is essentially the same, right? And that's what we're trying to say here. And all of these colors, they intersect with each other. And it's not really about the color of your aura, which changes with circumstances and moods. It's about the clarity and the brightness of your energy around you. So the Akashic records are moving around a dancing an energy dance, right? This is what they're doing. And since it's a living energy, it can be shifted and changed. So once you transcend your karma, then the old karma is expunged from the records and you dissolve more and more of your karmatic patterns, the easier it is to access the positive soul karma and the positive soul qualities. Karma works through the law of attraction. Wouldn't it be nice to have your soul qualities more present in your life and have the greater connection to your higher consciousness? You have the potential as you work within the records, right? And this is why I decided to do the Akashic readings for people to help with this. That's why we're going to give the first one away completely free because you deserve to know what you're seeing in your karmic records, right? And this is really, really what it's all about. And you know, you could say anything you want that this is BS, but it means you're just not open to listening, right? Or to maybe seeing it from a different perspective. I don't. I'm not sure why all of this is crazy, and I'm not talking to sugar, but I I think that there is a lot of people who will see this as something that they can't really get behind, but really because of their inherent beliefs and that's okay. You don't have to resonate with it, but it doesn't mean you should be saying things like that within the chat because that's not actually productive or helpful in any way. What that's doing is it's bringing negative aspects into this chat instead of actually trying to understand it or seeing it from a different perspective. And that's on you. That's not on me, right? We're only trying to bring the information out. If it doesn't apply, you let it fly. I wouldn't comment on it in somebody else's chat like that. That's not okay. So moving forward, let's be mindful and be respectful a little bit, right? It's okay to not feel everything that's being mentioned or say, right? But when we get into this, there's aspects that maybe you should be looking at that, and that's why you know you believe that you're stuck here. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of it. Just saying. But let's keep going. So your karmatic patterns, right, use the law of attraction to guide you to master your physical, emotional, and mental levels and body. We are all stuck in the wheel of karma, which is the reason we incarnate on earth over and over and over again. Being caught in the wheel of karma means you're getting caught in the illusion or the false reality of the self that you believe is who you really are. That self would be considered an ego identity. So many see the self as a name, a job, and a family. It has stories of hurt and anger, but this is only a reflection of the truth of who you are. The ego's identity is an illusionary self and can be changed and transformed by doing the work within the Akashic records. And when you go into the records, you start to understand the limitations of the egoic identity and those things that the ego believes to be true. So the ego itself is a part of the illusion. What's the truth of who you really are, right? What is it? The truth of who you are is not the ego. It is who is the whole divine self. And when you clear these old patterns within the records, you start to dissolve the ego identity and become the higher consciousness identity of that you are. So this is part of what we're talking about here, right? And all this is essentially a pathway to understand ourself more, to let go of the things that keep us grounded in the third density, and to accentuate all of the stuff that is bringing us to the prominence of the fourth density, if we're going into it like that, right? And I apologize for getting like that before, but sometimes I have to call the negativity out so we can dissipate it, because we're really here to help each other, right? And I get that, sugar, I get that, but you know we're trying to really flow through what this means to people and different perspectives than our own, so we can get a more robust understanding, right? And that's all we're trying to do here. And I'm not that's why I said that those comments didn't apply to you, sugar. I knew what you were talking about. But I wanted to make sure that we're sort of understanding this from a 40,000 foot view as well, right? So I understand your comments were something else, and that's not. I was addressing somebody else in the chat when I was saying that, and then I apologize if you took it, if you took offense to it, sugar. But it wasn't you, girl. It wasn't you. So let's keep going. Most souls incarnate because they're still working on emotional karma, mental karma, or physical karma. Do not assume that just because someone has physical limitations, that the only thing that they're working on is on the level of the physical body or of the physical karma. It is also possible, for example, that they could have wanted to transcend the mental body and they chose to do it through physical limitations. People are different, which is why the records will give you specific information for each person, right? And during the Akashic readings, you can transcend all of it. So, no matter what type of karma you're working on, when you start working in the Akashic records, you will notice that this process is the same. Your intention in the records is to transcend the old karmic patterns. So the wheel of karma is more sort of like a spiral, not a wheel, right? And as you move up, you may come back a little bit, but the movement is always outward towards expansion and oneness. The reason why you're moving in a spiral is that habitually you will keep seeing yourself as the ego self, and you will get drawn back into the illusion. You reincarnated into this lifetime because you're still holding on to those past stories of your emotions, your anger, and your resentment. You didn't transcend the illusion in the last life. So you needed to come here again to work through the same patterns. You have the gift of transcendence available for you to go with you into the Akashic records right now. And I suggest that you use the records fully and move towards that oneness and raise your vibration so you can become your true self while in the physical body, right? So we've been talking a lot about the illusion, right? And this illusion is known by many things, right? It's known by the matrix. It's known by quite a bit of different terminology. And, you know, what it was it's all of these different cultures and places and perspectives trying to essentially explain what they couldn't explain. And that was really something that they're trying to do because they want to transcend it, right? And I love all of you. I really do. And when I'm going back and forth with you, it's not from a place of how from ego, right? It's not. It's me trying to essentially initiate a back and forth a little bit to sort of give perspective from my point of view, but also take in your point of view and come to that understanding so we can, again, walk hand in hand and move forward. And it's okay to not believe these things and to not to not want to see it from that perspective too. And I respect that. So it's never a confrontational thing. It's always a proposition of questions to understand your perspective a little bit more and maybe give some insight into some other things. So when we go back and forth, never take it as me just kind of, putting you on the spot or trying to call you out for something. That's never my intention. My intention is to have a healthy debate or conversation about it because that's what facilitates new and amazing beginnings sometimes. And I think that we're all resonating with that now, especially when we're lifting these veils and walking through these karmic cycles and these incarnation cycles, trying to find one another again and move forward together. And we're at this precipice right now where we should be questioning everything. Even what I'm saying right now should be questioned to the umpteenth power because it, There are so many things that'll lead us astray out there. And I never want to be one of those things. So if it doesn't apply or doesn't resonate with you, it's all good. Like this, we could find a different way to talk about this or something similar to this. And I love that. I love the fact that we can do that. So I love you all. And I'm not coming for anybody. I would never do that. I would never do that to anybody. I just want you all to know that. I respect the hell out of everybody here. And I love you all. But there, we want to make sure that we're evaluating this from a perspective of open-mindedness too. And that's I I don't I'm almost at a loss for words. I imagine that me at a loss for words once in a while, but sometimes there's negative things that happen, and we have to kind of transmute that to something positive too, right? And that's part of the law of attraction. We don't want to put out negative to gain negative back. That's sort of how it works, and that's kind of the way karma works too. So let's keep riding, right? Let's talk about the illusion for a minute. The illusion, the matrix. So, transcending your karma means working through the illusion or the illusions that are present in your life and your past experiences. These illusions hold you back from your true potential and keep you stuck in a repeating pattern. When you release the illusion, you can better achieve your dreams in your love of life, right? Your career or even more. Karma and the illusion are closely connected. You can transcend your karma and transcend your illusion, and vice versa. Illusion is a very abstract concept because of the world you live is a dualistic one. And since you live in that world of duality, it's easier to explain and understand things in absolute terms, such as light and dark, old, new, up, down. This duality, right? This specific duality can cause your ego to see your surroundings in a limited way. All your senses have limits as your ego uses those senses to understand the world. It's easy to believe that what the senses tell you is the only reality. The truth is that your perception of reality connects you to your consciousness and change in your conscious awareness modifies your reality. It's possible to see beyond the limited ego vision of the world and start to see new things as you expand your consciousness. Now, this is one of the most prolific parts of what we're doing here, right? And truly, this is what I can't stress this enough. It's like we haven't incarnated onto this physical plane, right? We basically, it's the other way around. This physical plane became a part of us. We didn't jump into this body, right? With our soul, this physical existence was built from our soul, right? The soul is the source, not the physical reality. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? So, as we keep going to the illusion, actually, we're probably about to get to the next slide here. This is the last slide of the evening. So, have you heard the term oneness or that we are all one? Of course you have, right? We say it all the time. If we have a world of duality, how can we all be one? To understand that these two concepts can be contradictory, right? The illusion is that on the lower planes, we see and experience everything as a separate, even when a mother carries a baby inside of their womb, the baby is thought to be separate from the mother. Spiritual leaders, mystics, and ancient texts explain how the separation is an illusion. We are all one, and the concept of separateness is an illusion on the earth plane. Once you connect to the highest levels of the akashic record, you'll begin to see and experience the oneness. Oneness comes from the divine. For years, I was told about oneness, and I thought, I understand it and believe it, but it wasn't until I had the experience of oneness that I could embrace the depth of it. I want everybody here to grasp that of our world and hold that separateness as no longer being truth, right? But the separateness has is what created war, violence, anger, hunger, and destroys our planet. That's the illusion that we are separate from each one or each other, right? And even the planet itself, right? We're all part of a nation. instead of an entire existence. In reality, we are all the energy of the divine oneness. But we lost that understanding when we moved into this realm. And when you come to the earth plane, you start to feel separate from the divine love. And you become caught in the illusion of the linear dualistic energy of the lower planes, which keeps you in that wheel, rotating and rotating. To reach this place of oneness, which is all around us and all around you right now and available to you at every moment of every day, you need to be aware of the conscious of what your ego does every day to create that illusion of separateness, right? All of your limitations contribute to an understanding of what reality is. When you view the world through these limitations, you see reality as you understand through your ego. This is your ego reality. This reality also includes or connects to your perceptions, your feelings, your moods, and your environment, including the environments of the past that make you feel stuck in this life and stuck in that karmic pattern. Since this reality is how we navigate our world, the ego believes the earth is the only reality. And it gets fed this false belief by experiencing more and more of earth's riches, right? Or experiences. The ego chases desires and grasps at anything to feel better. It is the ultimate consumer. And when you feel separate, you look to the world to fulfill your craving. The truth is that there is nothing outside of yourself that will completely fulfill your need for connection and love. The ego wants you to buy into that illusion, and that something out there will make you feel loved, satisfied, or happy from within. Now, Buddhists, they believe that we are looking towards the illusion to become whole or feel connected. They call it grasping. You're grasping at your desires, but you never really get what you want. It's hard to get what you want when you look outside of yourself for love and connection. The positive feelings connect you to the higher states of consciousness, and you can only feel really when you become those higher states and you transcend the illusion. Now, instead of wanting something in the external world to fulfill you, by the transcending the illusion and the karma, you attract all sorts of amazing things and experiences because your energy is a higher state of consciousness. The human mind is limited since it's usually only senses what's around you. It's difficult to grasp the concept that there is something more than a piece of cake or a lover which will make you happy. You're conditioned from an early age to believe what you see, feel, and experience is real. So it's important to recognize when the world around you is only reflecting back the projection of your mind and the minds of others, which is difficult or different than the law of attraction. So the law of attraction attracts things to you that match your vibrational karmic patterns. You see the world around you through a limited kind of lens, which causes you to see more illusions. It's a distorted version of what's going on since you're so attached with what your subconscious is reflecting back to you. Your mind and senses create your personal reality. And when you're living in a limited consciousness, you'll see this more apparently, right? Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to look past that. And the Akashic record helps us do that. There's an existence of something outside your human senses and projections. As you start meditating and accessing the Akashic records, you begin to perceive beyond your limitations, and your consciousness becomes more connected to the divine. Expanding to connect to the divine unlocks your extrasensory perceptions like clairvoyance. So the human senses have limited capacity to reflect back to you the truth. Imagine walking into a kitchen and smelling the aroma of cookies. But then as you look around, you don't see any cookies anywhere. You think there should be cookies since your sense of smell is sure that there's cookies there. But what about other possibilities? What if you smell the cookies and it was actually a candle? Did your senses deceive you? Did you see the sky, the blue sky yesterday, right? Do you believe the sky is actually blue or is the blue sky an illusion? In actuality, the sky is not blue at all. And we only know that because science tries to prove that all the time, right? So every time space, even time and space, which seems so real in this present illusion, On Earth, we experience the existence as a linear concept. It seems like time passes minute by minute, and only things happen after another. But this is the part of the illusion of time and space. Believe it or not, there now scientifically there's been proven to be small units of matter which can occupy the same time and space in a vacuum. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's kind of true, right? If we believe what science is telling us. So we can exist in multiple places at once. This is how this works, right? So the last thing we're going to talk about tonight is this. This is it. So Hinduism goes into detail about the concept of Maya or illusion. Leaders in this tradition consider our world to be illusionary. They conceive of the world of existential reality as being that illusion, void of pure consciousness or of creation. The religions of the Far East have emphasized meditation. It's through meditation and divine contemplation that the spiritual practitioners will begin to see through the illusion and begin to understand actual reality. So it is said. This is something that was a long time coming for me to understand, right? And for somebody to sit there and tell me that what I'm seeing or sensing isn't real, it took my mind probably about 7 to 8 years to fully grasp that. And there's certain times where I should be showing emotions, right? And I won't. I'll be calm because I think about it from logical perspectives and I sort of transcend that moment, right? Instead of letting it get the best of me, which is what that moment is trying to do. There is a force at work that is trying to keep you within that illusion of those moments. But when you don't give that force this, I guess, verification or actualization, it no longer gets to be a part of what your waking reality actually is. And it helps us to move past our limitations because you're not essentially, you're not essentially giving in to that force, right? So it also, you know, it takes a lot of mental fortitude to essentially go through all that. And it's hard to break down the concepts of what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, and feeling, right? It truly is. It's a difficult thing to do. But once you get past that linear existence, you see that there is so much more out there. And the Akashic record has been one of the ways that I've been able to transcend that. And that's why I felt it necessary to give everybody a chance to experience somebody doing a reading for them in the Akashic records. Because when we go into the Akashic records for ourselves, over time, we get the perception, right? And we get to see what it is. And that's, you know, it's a wonderful thing. But it takes time. So if there's an experienced practitioner to give you a glimpse into what that is in the very beginning, it shows you what this transcendence looks like. And it helps you to want to achieve that moment on your own. So it gives you something to work towards, and I think that that's a great way to be introduced into the Akashic and how to truly access it, right? And how we can really enhance who we are here and now, and dictate those terms of the future by experiencing that, right? So thank you, Common. I appreciate that. With all that being said, please don't forget, if you haven't already, we are so close to 17,200, which helps us as well with getting the message out and being a part of this community. Please like, share, subscribe. Please leave a comment at the end of this. Also, if you're feeling inclined and can, please leave a super chat to help the algorithm boost as well. We appreciate all of it. It goes back into the broadcast. As you can see how bright I am today. We've got new lights to make this a more efficiently running, and it makes the quality of the video a little bit better for everybody because grainy video, people don't like to see it. The old light was about to break down too. It was a small ring light that we were using, so it wasn't really giving off the proper lighting anymore. But with all that being said, I love you all. And I hope everybody here gets the chance to break these cycles, no matter how you see it. And I love you all. And this is really something that is going to elevate the entirety of humanity. And I truly believe that. So, with all that being said, my name is Rob Yox. This has been Full Spectrum Universe. Remember, we explore the past to remain in the present to dictate the terms of our future. Live it, breathe it, and do it every day. That's how we beat this whole thing, right? And it's not about beating it, but it's how we ascend. When I say beat this thing, I mean the you know who I'm talking about, the controllers. So everybody have a great night, and I'll see you all next time.